Have you ever asked yourself why you have been learning English for more than 10 years at schools and you still struggle to speak English? And whenever it comes to watching an English movie, you still need to read the subtitles to understand what the actors are saying. This is because of the way that you've been learning English during all these years at school. I wouldn't say that that way was entirely wrong, but I'd say that the major objectives of the English curricula were to improve your reading and writing skills. That's why when it comes to reading and writing, you don't have any problem, but when it comes to oral skills like speaking and listening, now you have a problem. To improve your oral skills, there's a very effective technique that I've been using with my students here at Moncton University in Canada for many years. I have students that come from all over the world, and the vast majority of them have the same issue that you already have. I firmly believe that English learning journey should be fun and enjoyable. You learn English with fun. You don't have to study books, you don't have to study grammar. I always tell my students that the secret of learning English is in two words: input and output. When a baby is born to a Japanese or Chinese family, how do they acquire their mother tongue? The only thing that they do is that they listen to what their parents say and then they try to copy, imitate. They listen to their first word and then they try to say it. Do they say it correctly from the first time? Absolutely not. They make mistakes. Then they listen again. And then they try again, over and over until they master this word. And then they move on to learning a new word. And then they continue doing so until they have a good number of vocabulary that they can use to start making simple sentences. And by the time these simple sentences become more and more complex until they become fluent. That's how they acquire the language. And that's exactly how you have to acquire the language, improve your oral skills. So what I do with my students is that I ask them to choose a movie, any English movie that they like to watch. And every day I ask them to watch just 5 minutes of this movie. But they can't watch these 5 minutes in the regular way of watching it for entertainment purposes. Now they watch these 5 minutes for educational purposes. I ask them to listen to the first sentence in these 5 minutes and then pause. And if there are any new vocab to them, ask them to look them up. Find the meaning of these vocab in the dictionary. And then they have to have a notebook that is their own dictionary. Write down every new word to them. Then they rewind and listen to the first sentence one more time. But this time they have to try to say it. They will not say it correctly, like 100% correct. So they have to rewind one more time and listen to the same sentence again. And I ask them to imitate, copy, say exactly the way they listen to. When they feel that they can say this sentence the way the actors say, then I ask him to move on to listen to the second sentence and do exactly the same until they finish the whole 5 minutes. And then rewind and listen to these 5 minutes without any pause. In this way, they improve their listening skill and they improve their speaking skill. They listen, that's the input, and they speak, that's the output. And that's exactly what they want to do. That's it. That simple. And when they're done with these 5 minutes, I ask each of them to speak about these 5 minutes, to explain what these 5 minutes were about. And I urge them to use as many vocab as they can from those new vocab. And one very important thing is that I want you to get out of your comfort zone. When you speak about these 5 minutes, don't use the same vocab that you've been using for years. These are very familiar to you. But I want you to try to use the new vocab instead. Imagine after they finish their first movie how many vocab they have learned and how many new words they now know how to pronounce correctly. But there's one very important thing that when you learn some vocab, you have to try to use them in your daily life situations. You have to keep repeating him over and over, because if you don't use him, you lose him. That's what we're going to do in this English channel. We are going to present you movies, and we cut these movies into parts, and for each part we cut the sentences so that you have the opportunity to listen to each sentence, repeat it, learn the new vocab, write them down, and this way you can find the difference that you're going to make. Don't expect that you improve your language overnight. It needs time and consistency. That's essential. If you don't continue, if you don't repeat, if you don't give it time and some effort, you're not going to make any progress. If you follow our tips and watch the parts and repeat and write down the new vocab, try to use them, you'll find that you're going to make a dramatic change to your oral skills. And that's guaranteed.